Happy Friday, folks. Today is Friday, the 31st day of May, 2024. It is nice out here, nice and clear in Tampa, Florida. You always wonder why I'm looking that way. That's the window, obviously. Um, I'm looking for my handler to tell me whether or not it's actually nice outside. Um, I don't do this very often, but I will today. If you guys have any means by which you can help support what I do, it would be greatly appreciated. There's going to be some stuff, some links down below. I almost never talk about that kind of stuff. I don't want to be, the next DSP, e-begging and shit, but need to mention it from time to time, and so being the end of the month and all that. I thought I would just toss it out there. If it's possible, that would be nice. If it's not possible, I understand. Listen, this inflation is screwing us all over in a big, big way. So I completely get it, and I still value and appreciate you guys coming here, watching the stuff. So let's move on. What's happening today? I'm going to talk about three things. One's just kind of a wrap up of the week. The other is something that I've been talking about for a long time. And the last one I'm going to say for you is something I touched on yesterday with former Lieutenant Colonel, now Lieutenant General, I guess General, fucking a 3-star general, James Glynn, and his involvement. I was looking into his background, and it's much worse than I thought. His involvement in the fact that Biden sent him to Israel in middle of October, the early stages of this whole thing. It really kind of, it should open your eyes as to what we had intended to do from the very beginning, especially when you understand what he was doing from 2004 until 2017. We'll talk about that. But let's start off talking about something else I've talked about quite a bit, and that is the Greater Kurdistan Project. Folks, when I start talking about the Greater Kurdistan Project, the eyes kind of glaze over, and they're like, Scott, no one's doing that, in spite of the fact that they already have 2 pieces of the 4 pieces they need for the Greater Kurdistan Project. A piece of Iraq and a piece of Syria they call Rojava, which is where the Kurds live and reside now in eastern Syria. We busted that off with ISIS and the United States military and the Syrian Democratic Forces, and we stole it. Basically, a third of the country east of the fucking Euphrates in Syria. That's the first 2 parts. The next 2 parts will require demonizing Erdogan till we can get rid of him, and then busting off a piece of Turkey, and then demonizing Iran. You notice a pattern going here, and busting off a piece of Iran to make this one big fucking hub in the great fucking hub, the great wheel, whatever the fuck Zygmunt Brzezinski used to call it, of the world, of the global island, the world island, and that is right dead smack in the middle of fucking the Middle East. You create another Saudi Arabia. Saudi coming from the name, the House of Saud. You would have Barzani fucking Kurdistan. Because we installed the Barzani clan to own it and operate it and run it much like Saudi Arabia as a competitor for Saudi Arabia. It is estimated that those 4 areas of those 4 countries I talked about, first of all, it's not estimated. They are the oil producing regions in those countries. Second of all, it is estimated that it would challenge, if you had all 4 of those combined together into one nation under one fucking rulership or dictatorship or whatever, which is what the Barzani clan is, then you controlled that, then you would control a strong enough economic force in terms of the energy sector to put pressure on Saudi Arabia, so Saudi Arabia no longer has this singularity at the top of the energy fucking food chain, the global energy food chain. And that is exactly what the Greater Kurdistan Project is all about. I bring this up. I remember when I first started writing about it, this publication called E-Kurd Daily. And if you go down and look at my categories on the right side of my page, you'll see Greater Kurdistan Project. You scroll through that, you'll find where I covered it. eKurd Daily specifically called me out, not once but twice, in 2 different articles, saying what a jackass I was. I knew nothing about geopolitics. I knew nothing about the energy sector. I knew nothing about Kurdistan's history. There is no such thing as the Greater Kurdistan Project. I rebutted by finding several articles on their own websites that predated the stuff they did, telling me that there's no, writing about me and saying there's no such thing as a Greater Kurdistan Project, in which they talked about and advocated for the Greater Kurdistan Project. My map that I had drawn roughly myself, showing the parts of these countries they want to bust off, was oddly similar to one that they had published themselves just like 6 months prior on eKurd Daily. Something's been quiet. We're not actually going after. They have Rojava. They have fucking Iraqi Kurdistan. We're still trying to demonize Erdogan. We're still trying to demonize fucking Iran, bust up Iran, so we can bust these pieces off and make Greater Kurdistan. It's part of what Lieutenant Peters drew up back in 2005 and what Condi Rice talked about in 2006 with the conflict between Israel and fucking Lebanon, which Lebanon won. She talked about, she went to, I don't know where she was. She was either in Israel or somewhere in the Middle East. And she mentioned that this conflict between Israel and Lebanon was just the birth pangs of the new Middle East. And that's what Lieutenant Peters' drawing was. It was a map of the new Middle East, which is, by the way, something that Benjamin Netanyahu talked about 2 weeks before October the 7th, when he held up a fucking map of the Middle East, and it showed all of Palestine and Israel combined into one, which was called Israel. He talked about that being the new Middle East. Well, turns out he's not the only one in the family that's currently thinking about the plans for the new Middle East. Turns out his spoiled brat, cokehead, Miami fucking resident son, party boy fucking Yair, is also talking about the Greater Kurdistan Project, i.e. the plan for the new Middle East. All eyes on Kurdistan, he said. Stop the genocide of the Kurdish people by Turkey. Stop the occupation and repression of Kurdistan by Turkey, Iran, Iraq, and Syria. Free, free Kurdistan. Free, free Kurdistan. And there's his map. There's their map. That's the most current version. In my map, here's the thing. In my map, there's a very important aspect of the Greater Kurdistan Project, and that is access. Not only the fucking oil in the ground, which is interesting and important to get a hold of, because it will rival, according to their experts, it will rival that of the reserves of Saudi Arabia. But they want to make a hub, a center hub, where you can fucking have access in one country to the Caspian Sea and all those oil reserves there, the Black Sea and the access to the north, the Mediterranean Sea and the Persian Gulf. So in this one, they just have one fucking port, and it's a small fucking coastline. That's small compared to, and that's not forward thinking. In reality, they would like to extend this, the northern borders of Greater Kurdistan, to the Black Sea. They're probably going to have to go with either busting off a piece of Azerbaijan and Armenia to get to the Caspian Sea, or just fucking working out arrangements with Azerbaijan or even fucking Jordan. Either one. But then Russia's on the other side of Jordan, so that doesn't fucking help. But certainly, they're going to need to get to the Mediterranean Sea by busting off the bottom fucking southern part of fucking southern eastern part of fucking Turkey, and then go further down Iran, taking more of Iran, and go into the fucking Persian Gulf. That way they can have access to all sorts. They can have access to the whole fucking world without having to just go through one fucking location here. Of course, pipelines will make a big difference, but anyway. So here we go. The Greater Kurdistan Project is not over and done with. The Greater Kurdistan Project is still alive and well. There's some kind of truck dropping off something across the street. It's going to make noise and Bo is going to bark. The Greater Kurdistan Project is alive and well and being brought to you by the son of Benjamin Netanyahu. I wrote this. It's all kicking off now, folks. Got to get more wars going to keep people from focusing on daddy's genocide in Gaza. Biden seems to be a comatose puppet at the hands of the military-industrial complex, Zionists, and financiers. He's just rubber stamping whatever crazy shit those neocons put in front of him. And that is a fact. And to that end, I will show you that there is more news. Biden has put, he has given his seal of approval to changing a policy that now allows for Zelensky and his Ukraine Nazis, the Nazis in Ukraine, to actually use U.S. weapons to attack locations in Russia. That is a major, major, major problem. And he has signed off on that yesterday. That is a major problem. Again, I'll tell you. This is, first of all, a nice distraction from what's happened with the genocide in Gaza and how much attention that's been brought to that. Of course, Zionists taking control of the Philadelphia fucking corridor, which is a violation of an agreement they had since 1974 or 78 with Egypt, which has pissed off the Egyptians to no fucking end. And of course, 2 fucking Egyptian soldiers were killed by the IDF during that process. This is a major, major escalation. Let's go over the second thing I wanted to talk about. So we got the Greater Kurdistan Project thing taken care of. Let's talk about what a week it was for the genocidal Zionists and their sycophants. Now, I think these dates are pretty accurate, but there might be a day off or 12 hours off. It doesn't really fucking matter. It's close. Just a rundown of what's happening this week. Sunday, people are outraged worldwide because Israel bombed fucking civilian refugees in Rafah to send a message that they're above international law, killing 46 people, beheading 1 child, and literally blowing the brains out of another, while sickening screams of people burning to death are broadcast across the world. The world is fucking outraged. And rightly fucking so. The world is sickened by what the IDF and the Zionists are doing just to keep Bibi Netanyahu and the Zionists in power in fucking Israel. They are committing generational genocide. They've been committing genocide, slow genocide, in fucking Gaza for the last 70 years, 75 years. There's not a doubt. There's not a question. That's a fact. But they have upped it. And the world is appalled by them. So then Monday, Israel attacks another refugee camp, but since there's no recording of the 33 more civilian refugees being exterminated, no one hardly even noticed. They came right out and did it again. Monday, Blinken makes excuses for glorious Israel. Tuesday, Kirby makes excuses for glorious Israel and gives them a pass to keep killing, saying that, they haven't violated the red line yet, while tanks on Wednesday rolled into the center of fucking Rafah. More civilian refugees killed. Also on Wednesday is a powerful speech made in the UN Security Council emergency session. Crickets were heard from the Biden administration over this. Powerful fucking speech. Logical fucking argument. You can't fucking ignore it. Begging, please send them a message, any kind of message, just to get them to stop killing our fucking civilians in Rafah and in Gaza. And crickets from the fucking Biden administration. I'm going to explain to you why I think that is in a second. Like I said before, Wednesday, Israel laid siege to the Philadelphia corridor between Gaza and Egypt, violating yet another international law and a long-standing agreement with Egypt. They killed 2 Egyptian soldiers during that offensive maneuver. Also on Wednesday, Israeli National Security Advisor says Israel's planning on continuing the genocide in Gaza till at least the end of 2024, since they haven't finished driving all the Palestinians off their homeland, and since they're planning on starting to build their nifty new casino hotel resorts on the beaches of Gaza. By the way, when talking about the Philadelphia corridor, They claim that they're going to be cutting off the oxygen of Hamas. The last story I'm going to talk to you about is going to explain all of this to you. It's going to click. They want to cut off the oxygen to Hamas. What is the oxygen to Hamas they want to cut off? They're not lying to you. People like the Young Turks are all screeching. They're talking about water. They're talking about food. That's the people of Gaza. No. No, 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 no. Yes, they're doing that. It's called collective punishment. But they do that. They commit collective punishment. They commit horrible atrocities. They fucking behead kids. They burn mothers in nylon tents to death for a reason. And that is to cut off the oxygen to Hamas. What is the oxygen? It is not food and water. It is the support of the Palestinians living in Gaza. You make things so fucking horrible on the fucking civilian population that they're going to eventually turn on the insurgents. They're going to turn on their own elected government. That's turning off the oxygen. That's why they're cutting off that whole fucking border. That's why they're doing this and not bringing food in. They say they're bringing aid in, but the aid just drives right down the fucking, right down the Nazarene fucking highway, right down Highway 749, and goes right into Israel, and probably goes to the fucking settlers in the West Bank. They're cutting off the oxygen. What is the oxygen? What is the oxygen, the most important thing that keeps an insurgency alive? Is it food? No. Is it water? No. Is it weapons? No. It is the support of the population. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's called the Salvador Option. That's what they're fucking doing. And that's my third fucking article today. That's my third fucking story for you today. Because Joe Biden sent the leading surviving expert on the Salvador Option to Israel in October of 2023. A man by the name of General James Glynn. That's the oxygen. You ever watch a movie called Platoon? Decent enough movie, overacting. But, you know, there it is. Good versus evil. There's always that fucking stereotypical scene in which, and I know why it's a stereotypical scene, but it's a powerful trope, and it's something that you can use to, you know, delineate between, you know, the good soldiers and bad soldiers. And it goes something like this. In they come, someone gets shot out in the fucking jungle, and they get killed by a sniper, an insurgent in Vietnam. And they find a village, and they're all mad, and they're all raging, and they're gonna, so they go through and they fucking, you know, beat people, and they fucking drag people out of their huts, and they start yelling at them, and they pull one of them aside, and they got too much grain. Oh my God, you got too much grain. Are you feeding the Viet Cong? Are you feeding the Viet Cong? And they start yelling at him. And I forget the actor's name. He did a really good job in it, too. The guy with the scar on his face. Did a really good job in it. And he takes the leader of the fucking little village, and he takes his fucking girl, and he puts a gun to the fucking girl's head. He's going to shoot the little girl. He's like, tell me! And, of course, the good soldiers were like, oh, my God, what do we do? What do we do? He's going to shoot that little girl. Everybody's all pumped up. Yeah, kill her. Shoot that little girl. This is the Salvador Option. This is what you do. In Iraq, there was an IED that went off near a fucking, it's a very well-known story, near a fucking village. And it killed one guy and wounded another guy driving by in their Humvees. The rest of the platoon flipped out. And they knew there was a village about maybe 3 or 4 clicks to the west or east or whatever the fuck it was. They got their black helicopters together and they went in at 3 o'clock in the morning because, you know, they didn't want to, in case there was actually insurgents there, they wanted to sneak up on them. And they brought the fucking helicopters in hard and fast and they jumped out. And they slaughtered them. Civilians. Women, children, elderly. People with nothing to do with what happened. You might remember that. Then they piled up the fucking bodies. Some of them tried to dig the fucking bullets out so that they couldn't do a forensic evaluation. They could tell that from people roughly digging the fucking army knives into bodies. Then they burned the bodies. And what they said later was the idea was we've got to make the fucking civilians hate the insurgents doing anything near them because they're going to pay for it. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the Salvador option. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what Israel is doing to Gaza. That's why they go after fucking hospitals. That's why they go after the fucking refugee camps. That's why they kill women and children. That's why there's 15,000 dead fucking children. It's not an accident. It's not collateral damage. This isn't the fog of war. This is the fucking war. They are fighting an insurgency, dug in like ticks. And the biggest problem, the harshest thing for them to deal with, is not the guns, it's not the water, it's not the fucking food. The hardest thing for them to deal with is without guns, without water, without food, they still have support of the people. They got to make the people realize that they're going to be punished for the insurgency. They're going to be punished for Hamas. When they tell you, we've got to clear Hamas out, and everyone says, you can't do that, you can't do that. How are you going to do that? You can't bomb here and bomb here and bomb here. No! You get rid of Hamas according to fucking General fucking Glynn and the Salvador option. You get rid of fucking Hamas by making the people hate Hamas because Hamas is doing this to you. That's the Salvador option. And that's what we're doing. And I say we on purpose. We sent Glynn there. We support this horror. We do. We still have people like Joe fucking Scarborough talking about, well, you know, what happened to the 1,200 innocent civilians who died on fucking October 7th? What about them? We're over 38,000 fucking dead, and there's still more missing. Buried in the rubble. 15,000 children. You're talking about 1,200? And let me just put those numbers into perspective for you. The IDF says 600 or more IDF soldiers have been killed since October the 7th. That includes all the fighting from October the 8th to May 31st. Over 600. And it's not really 1,200, it's 1,139. 1,142 now. 1,142 total numbers of Israelis dead. 600 plus being soldiers. Not innocent Israelis killed on October the 7th. That's a lie. Yet another lie. That not enough fucking people who do what I do take the time to fucking investigate. It's not hard to find. The numbers come from the IDF and their own social security services. And they published them in Israeli fucking papers. I'm not making this shit the fuck up. I don't sit here and just make shit the fuck up. Okay? It's not 1,200. But it is 15,000 dead children. That number's accurate. And growing. And according to the IDF and to Netanyahu, and apparently Biden's inaction, that number's going to continue to fucking grow. Who did we send in mid-October? What did we send? Not who. What did we send in mid-October? This is what we sent. Lieutenant James Glynn was sent to Israel in mid-October 2023 to help the IDF, quote, plan for a conflict with as few civilian casualties as possible. Glynn is responsible for one of the bloodiest campaigns in the history of the Iraq War and one of the first. They're two different ones. But not only that, in between, in 2008, he wrote in support of something called the Salvador Option being used in Iraq to deal with the insurgency and civilian support base. And civilian support base. And civilian support base that kept it going. The Salvador Option is the use of death squads to capture, torture, and kill civilians who don't like our occupation. That's what we sent to Israel 2 weeks after October 7th incursion by the occupied people. Is it any wonder Biden continues to support the genocide no matter what? Is it any wonder these Zionists feel above the law? This is what was written about fucking General Glynn in Fallujah in 2016. He's talking about this. This is a quote from him. Marine Corps Brigadier General James F. Glynn. CTS being the Counterterrorism Services, CTS has been a mainstay of the fight against ISIS and Daesh here in fucking Iraq, and they suffered their fair share of casualties as a result of this. This is during Operation Inherent Resolve in 2016 going to 2017. I want you to understand this. I've covered this a lot. There is a General Military Council for Iraqi Revolutionaries topic on the side here. Go read that. They will tell you on Wikipedia that they only existed for a couple of months and then they just disappeared and ISIS took over. That's bullshit. They existed for a couple of months and they started to make headway. They started to make headway to retake the country in 2014 from our fucking puppets. Because our puppets were neoliberal fucking sellouts and they were being given their fucking marching orders by people outside their country. They wanted their country back. They were Baathists. They were all sorts of fucking people. They weren't terrorists. They were the General Military Council for Iraqi Revolutionaries. And they were winning. And so they needed, I've told you this before, Barack Obama, this is the wrong war. The right war was Afghanistan. Mr. Barack Obama got us out of Iraq, made a big fucking campaign fucking thing out of that. But then all of a sudden, they're going to lose all their fucking, all the oil that was being sucked out of fucking Iraq by our fucking companies. We had problems. We had investments. We had money to lose. And these guys were going to come in, these Baathists were going to come in and socialize it and nationalize it again. Can't let that shit happen. What do? Do we tell the fucking people of the Barack Obama's supporters who hated Bush, wanted him out because war, and here comes our change guy. So as our change guy, is he going to come out and say, we got to go in there and retake fucking Iraq because our businesses are going to lose their fucking money and their investments? We got to do this. No. So they made up ISIS. They got Rita Katz up in fucking the Poconos, wherever the fuck her studio is, to make fucking fake beheading videos. They're fake as shit. Even the mainstream media admitted they're fake. And they said, well, they couldn't show you real ones because that'll really piss people off. So they made up fake ones. It's so fucking stupid. But that's what they pushed. ISIS. Then the General Military Council for Iraqi Revolutionaries, Baathists, Iraqis fighting to take Iraq back from our occupational forces. They became ISIS, bloody ISIS. And we could do anything we wanted to bloody ISIS, including taking Mosul. In 2017, Lieutenant Glynn headed up the attack on Mosul. The attack on Mosul produced some of the worst fucking civilian casualty numbers ever. Because again, he's a Salvador Option guy. He believes in Mosul is a stronghold, one of several for the General Military Councils for Iraqi revolutionaries and the Baathists. Because they supported what they were doing. They were resisting our fucking puppet regime we left in power in fucking Iraq. Our neoliberal dictator, brutal dictator that we left in power in Iraq. They wanted him gone. They wanted to go back to the old days. So, they supported him. So what does fucking Glynn do? He brings the full power of the fucking sword mandate. He brings the full power of the fucking Salvador Option. And he has no problem laying waste to civilians. They claim they killed 2,000 insurgents. And they claim they only killed 10,000 fucking civilians to get those 2,000 insurgents. That is his fucking resume. He had no problem with it. In fact, the numbers are closer to 17,000 civilians and 1,200 fucking fighters. That's the truth. He is proud of his service to the world and to the West and to the bankers and the financiers and the people who are still making money, making bank, taking fucking Iraqi people's oil out of their land and cashing in on it. That's what we sent. That's what we sent to fucking Israel. That's what we sent. 2004. You think this was just a one-off thing for him? 2004. 13 years before that. Ever hear of Fallujah? He was there. 200 fucking insurgents killed in Fallujah. 600 civilians. 300 of them women and children. He killed more women and children. Again, these are their numbers. So, of course, you've got to add up to the civilian casualties and decrease and subtract from the insurgents' numbers to get to the real numbers. He was there. He was part of it. He had a lead role in the design of what we did in Fallujah, using white phosphorus. Some of those kids died through white phosphorus. This is the piece of shit that we sent. This is the monster, the fucking monster that we sent to Israel 2 weeks after fucking October the 7th. Is it any goddamn wonder? Is it any fucking wonder? Lastly, you say, well, Scott, yeah, this is kind of fog of war shit, and yeah, they say they're, you don't understand. You don't understand. This is not fog of war shit. This is not collateral damage shit. This is not stuff gets, this is not, they're using them as human shields. They're hiding under the fucking babies. They're holding the babies up. That's not what this is. The claim that they're using human shields is something written in a paper. This is how you justify it. In order to turn the fucking hatred from us back towards them, to spin it around, you say, well, they're using their own people as human shields. That's how diabolical they are. That's how monstrous they are. He wrote that. You can go read it. El Salvador, Iraq, and Strategy Considerations for Counterinsurgency. An essay, 35-page essay, by one Lieutenant Colonel James F. Glynn from the United States Marine Corps on the Salvador Option. And here it is, all day fucking long. 2008. How to deal with counterinsurgency. The biggest problem facing an occupier dealing with an insurgency The biggest problem is the fact that the population supports them. Now, there's all kinds of ways using special operations, using communications. Cat, please stop that. Using communications, using propaganda, or buying them out, or bribing them out, or trying to show them a better life. In my article, there's an interesting quote about when the General Military Council of Iraqi Revolutionists came in 2014 and kicked the Iraqi government, our puppet government, out of Mosul. And there were people who said almost immediately life was better for the fucking Iraqis because it wasn't so fucking corrupt, which is the signature. That's what you get. If you are an occupying force and you want to bring somebody in who's an Iraqi to rule over other Iraqis for your benefit, not for the Iraqis' benefit, you find somebody who's corrupt and you help them fucking figure out a way so they can milk and make their own peace, get their own fucking bag. You find scumbags and you empower scumbags. The General Military Council of Iraqi Revolutionists came into places like Mosul. They got rid of the scumbags. And they started running the goddamn city like a government should, for the benefit of the fucking people. They said, we used to have maybe 2 or 3 hours of fucking electricity a day. Under the General Military Council for Iraqi Revolutionaries, and from these guys, we started getting it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It wasn't that hard. Because they weren't corrupt. This is what you deal with. And you deal with. That's why it's impossible. We can't fucking compete with that. Do you understand? We can't go to Nambia, who needs money because they're having a recession and they got problems and they want to build this stuff and make things better. We can't compete with China and Russia. They say, yeah, we'll loan you the money, almost no fucking interest. Maybe you use our guys to build it, maybe you don't, that's it. Our fucking offer is, yeah, we'll give you the money, but there's a huge amount of fucking debt, and you're going to use our businesses, and we'll tell you who to fucking use. And so we're going to give you the money, you're going to give it back to us, but you're also going to privatize everything in your fucking country. You're going to hand over all this shit. You're going to get rid of all the goddamn worker rights laws you have, so we can bring in all these people and undermine you. You're also going to fucking help undermine your own agricultural fucking base so you can start buying shit from our goddamn big agribusinesses. Who's going to take that? In their right fucking mind, who's going to take that? First of all, maybe somebody corrupt. But aside from that, like our sissy, aside from that, who's going to take that? Nobody. It's the same thing on a smaller scale, city by city, town by town, village by village, when you're dealing with an insurgency. They have a better mousetrap, and the people know it. Plus, there's the added deficit that you're the occupier. You've already killed people. If you've got a history there. You've already done Fallujah. You've already done Mosul. So the problem is twofold. They live there. They are fucking Iraqis or whatever they are. In this case, Palestinians. They live there. They trust each other. You're the occupier. You're the IDF. You're the United States. You're coming in. You got nothing to offer. Nothing. Plus, you want them to have a hard time, a hard life, so you can take advantage of them as cheap fucking labor. You're at an ideological deficit from the fucking start. Do you understand? So there's no, how do you get the fucking civilians on your side? The only fucking way is through brute force. The only way is to kill and maim and torture and murder as many as you can in the worst possible ways you can to make them so fucking frightened. They'll be like, God damn. I hate these fucking people, but we got to get rid of our fucking insurgents. That is the Salvador option. That is what we said. We sent that motherfucker to Israel. And that is what Israel's been doing ever since. You ask yourself, why does Biden, it's going to cost him the fucking election. Young people want nothing to do with this mother. Now he's picking a fight with Russia. So we can start a bigger fight, a bigger war that we're actually involved in, and nobody will be paying attention to what fucking Israel does in Gaza anymore. Or they'll bring about the next pandemic. And they'll lock things down, and we'll get a fucking mask, and be fighting over mandates and vaccine mandates, and nobody will pay attention to what's happening in Gaza. That's their plan. But their plan for choking the fucking oxygen out of Hamas. People say, you can't get rid of Hamas. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. You kill, you burn, you behead, you decapitate, you torture enough fucking civilians. Eventually the civilian population will have to turn on the insurgency. They'll have to. Just to fucking survive. When you watch something like Platoon, and they show you that fucking monster holding a goddamn gun to a kid's head, willing to destroy, they burned the whole village down, and they shot fucking people. They did awful, atrocious things in order to try to convince the population in Vietnam to stop standing with the Viet Cong and with the people who were the insurgency. We are literally the antagonists, the bad guys from the movie Platoon. We have literally become that. And that's why Glynn went to fucking Israel. And that's why Israel feels compelled. And they feel like they have a right, and they feel like they are going to be, they expect us to give them all the support in the world. Because in all likelihood, it was our plan from the start. Have a good Friday, boys and girls.